Good afternoon. My name is Daniel Mintz, and today I'll be discussing why healthcare should be a right and not a privilege. Approximately 33 million people in the United States, 10.4% of the US population, did not have health insurance in 2014, according to the Census Bureau. Is healthcare a right or a privilege? 4 years ago, my father nearly passed away from a blockage in his heart. At first, it started out small, and we seek treatment for it immediately. But throughout the process, we kept getting the runaround for different treatments and medications we were pursuing. It took 2 years to finally be treated. My mother had gone back and forth with the insurance company to establish who was responsible for coverage of his treatments and medications. By then, 98% of his heart was blocked. If they had taken less than a month longer to finally treat him, he surely would have passed. My father has a great healthcare plan, and it took years of fighting to finally be treated. Healthcare is a human right, in my opinion. We are globally recognized as one of the wealthiest countries, and our healthcare system should reflect that. Even though it is the responsibility of every citizen to take care of their medical needs themselves, there should be certain conditions in place regarding health issues. Everyone should have access to a doctor. When someone is in bad health, the individual is not able to perform basic duties and responsibilities that are necessary for day-to-day living. Failing health makes for several serious societal issues, which can compromise a person's ability to achieve his or her best in life. Throughout the 18th and 19th century, the US federal government did not finance or otherwise provide health care to the public. However, in the 20th century, the debate over the right to health began to emerge. In 1920, the New York State Commissioner of Health, Herman Briggs, began promoting public health care services at the country level, and Charles Edward Amory Winslow, the chair of Department of Public Health at Yale University, wrote, "I look to see our department in the coming years enable every citizen to realize his birthright to health and longevity." Government-funded health insurance was considered by President Roosevelt's Committee on Economic Security, but it was never included as part of the 1935 Social Security Act, in part due to opposition from the American Medical Association. President Roosevelt proposed a health care reform to provide universal coverage, and U.S. Surgeon General Thomas Perrin argues that equal opportunity for health care is a basic American right. The bill did not gain necessary support in Congress. Another attempt for universal health care was made by President Harry S. Truman in 1945. Once again, the bill never passed. Throughout the 1960s and 70s, the issue was brought up but continually turned down. In 1965, despite some public opposition, Medicare, which was the Social Security Act Amendment of 1965, was passed by the House and Senate and signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson on July 30th, 1965. Despite over 100 years of dialogue of the health care issue, we are still debating whether it's a right or a privilege. Healthcare should be a right, not a privilege. The United States is one of the world's only developed nations that does not guarantee universal health coverage for its citizens. The United States, Greece, and Poland are the only countries of the 34 members of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or OECD, that do not have universal health care. Compared to the 34 nations of the OECD, the United States had the third highest rate of infant mortality, which was behind Turkey and Mexico. 2.4 practicing physicians per 1,000 people, which is lower than the OECD average of 3.1, and an average life expectancy of 78.7 years, which is lower than the OECD average of 80.1 years old. The World Health Organization ranked the U.S. healthcare system at number 37 out of 191 countries in its 2000 report, between Costa Rica and Slovenia. In 2014, the Commonwealth Fund, a private foundation that assesses the healthcare systems of industrialized countries, ranked the United States last in overall healthcare behind the United Kingdom, Switzerland, Sweden, Australia, Germany, Norway, Netherlands, France, and Canada. In recent years, international law has developed swiftly with respect to the normative definition of the right to health, which includes both healthcare and healthy conditions. Having a right to participate in decisions affecting one's health and therefore links issues with active social citizenship. The proponents of the right to health care says that no one in the richest nation on earth should go without health care. A right to health care would stop medical bankruptcies, improve public health, reduce overall health care spending, help small businesses, and that health care should be an essential government service. Opponents argue that a right to health care amounts to socialism and that it should be an individual's responsibility, not the government's role, to secure health care. Government provision of health care would decrease the quality and availability of health care and would lead to larger government debt and deficits. In conclusion, I believe it is a moral right to have health care, to have immediate health care, because it is directly connected to life, which is one of the key staples in the Constitution of the United States of America. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What happened to life? Without quality of care, individuals would not receive proper care, and care may be avoided. Without a code of ethics, the medical community would probably have more worried about money than solving healthcare issues to save lives. We have to do better to ensure we all have healthcare. As Dennis Senich, U.S. Representative, wrote, "The hour has arrived to begin anew the civil rights movement, this time for healthcare for all. Healthcare is a basic right in a democratic society. It is no more a privilege based on ability to pay than is the right to vote, which was once afforded only to property owners." This concludes my speech. Thank you for your time. Have a nice night.